It's been 1 year since the October 7th attack, and to be completely honest, I felt like it's gonna last a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We've been in war for over a year.
Yep.
And all I see is death, destruction, hate, and I look at Romans 8, all things works for the good. And I can't see any of that.
When I look through the Bible and I see the stories of our patriarchs and what they actually went through, it's easy to look at the Bible and say, oh, those stories, what's the message I can get out of it? But we don't necessarily remember it's a history book that our people went through horrific trials, through dispersion, through exile, through wars and destruction. And they're never going to be saying it was easy. They're never going to be saying, oh, things were great. You could say, yes, this is amazing. I'm suffering through this and I'm able to share the gospel on the streets of Israel, and I'm able to, from a Messianic Jewish perspective, I'm able to live out my faith, but I, as a person, I hurt. Am I expecting a good, comfortable life? Maybe. Is that what Jesus promised? No, he didn't. King David, Abraham, Noah, they didn't have easy lives, but it was their faith that God counted as righteousness. So when King David says, I look to the mountains and where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord. When you're crying out like that, you're not crying out from a place of happiness and joy. You're crying out and saying, God, I need you. Father, I need you right now.
I look over the hills and I see smoke, I hear sirens. It's just such a reality that is so far from the Bible and from what I'm reading, and what I'm seeing is such a big dissonance.
What you're seeing is actually in the Bible. These prophets got to their wits' end. David got to his wits' end. Every time he got to his wits' end, that's when God shows up. As soon as we say, yeah, it's all good, everything's gonna be fine, I trust the Lord, and then it gets harder. And then it gets harder. So yeah, in the beginning of a crisis and a struggle, things can be like, yeah, God will take care of it. But when he doesn't right away on our timing, because he has a different plan and a different timing that's different than ours, that's when our faith is tested. Your faith, my faith, everybody out there right now that's watching this is having their faith tested in some way. It's easy to say, oh, I've got faith when everything's great. But what's your faith when everything comes crumbling down around you? What's that like? When your normal is, are we going to go to the bomb shelter today? Are they going to release any hostages today? Am I going to get shot at on the freeway today? Am I going to get stabbed on the sidewalk today? When that's your reality, then your faith gets to shine through. And even though we have a place that we can live, and the Israeli Defense Force is the best in the world at keeping its citizens safe, ultimately when we trust in man, we're going to be disappointed. That's for sure. You were taken into the army when this whole thing started, and you were telling me how you had an infiltration at your base, and you were just waiting for the moment when the enemy was coming to just destroy you all. And you felt
complete peace.
Where does that come from? Did that come from you saying, oh, I'm gonna feel peace now, I'm gonna make my mind, change my mind about the situation? No, you're fearing for your life. And what that does to me is that God says, don't forget. I took you out of Egypt. I took you out of slavery. Don't forget where I showed up for you when you were laying on the floor in fear of your life. Don't forget the time that when you dropped to your knees and you said, God, Dad, I need you. And your dad said, no, you need Jesus. And all of a sudden your life was changed in 1 second. Don't forget those moments. And instead of trying a new self-help technique, you're supposed to look towards the heavens and look towards the mountains, because God will show up for you on his timing in the best way that you need it and the way that you need it. And even standing here talking to you has lifted me up and encouraged me, because it makes us remember what God has done for us. Don't forget. Don't forget those moments when God pulled you out of the darkness into the light. Don't forget the times where he restored you. He lifted you up and he gave you that strength. He renewed your strength. And he's going to renew yours, and he's going to renew mine, and he does it through you. And he does it through his amazing, amazing work that he can do on this earth while we're still here in the midst of horrific situations.